All right, so check this trend out. This is my 5-way. It's week 13 or later, regular season. You following so far?
Yep.
Okay. It's an away game. The team has a winning percentage of 860 or better. 860 or better.
So a really good team here.
Really good
10
team.
10-2, 11-1 type stuff.
Yes. And right there, that's all there is. I got a couple. Oh, one other thing. And they can't have crushed their last opponent. They can't be on a super roll. And we define that by they can't have covered by 20 or more. So that's a rare thing that they're going to cover. But when they do cover, they seem to keep the momentum going. But otherwise, so one more time, we'll go over that. 86%, really good team. It's late in the season, week 13 or later. They're away, okay? And this goes no time limit with the years. This goes way back to the beginning of the database. The first game, I think, was 1990. Yep, in this. And the only other thing is they can't be on a heater by covering by 20 points or more the last game. All right? That team is 9 winners and 57 losers against the spread.
What?
9 and 57, minus 8.1 points per game.
How is that possible?
Fez, what do you think of that?
That's not possible. What are they straight up?
Now, that is the KC Chiefs, and thus the Browns are the 5-way. Now, I got a couple tighteners here that make perfect sense. Oh, maybe one does and one doesn't. The rest can't be 3 games. All right, now we're moving on to a tightener, meaning this doesn't apply to the prior numbers. So they got to have more than 3 days rest, which actually makes a ton of sense to me because the better team, if they're super focused on playing a road game on 3 days rest, tend to do well, even though you might think, oh, well, they might no. It's almost like it seems like when these teams are lax, it sneaks up on them. It's like they don't know they're going to be lax. Because whenever we really think a team's in a tough spot, they tend to do well. You ever notice that, Fez?
Yes.
I mean, like if it's one of those spots everyone's talking about during the week. All right. And then the only other thing is if you take out the highest total and the lowest total, just the extremes for whatever reason, again, that's kind of arbitrary, you go to 6 and 56. So you don't even need to do that, right? 9 and 57 with those simple criteria, and it makes a ton of sense. It's not at home, and they are really good, and most of the time they're in a situation like Kansas City is, which is, what is their motivation? They want to win. But don't they have the number 1 seed pretty locked up at this point?
Well, they don't have it locked up, but the fact that Buffalo lost last week gives them, for the first time all year, a 2-game lead.
Yeah, and now that means it's 3 games, right, Fez?
Yes. It's 2 1/4.
I was trying to get you worked up.
Minus 400 to be the AFC number 1 seed for the Chiefs.
Well, that actually doesn't seem – that seems cheap to me.
Bills plus 350.
That seems cheap to me.
Do they have the tiebreaks over Pittsburgh? No, because they play Pittsburgh on Christmas night. The reason that it's not higher, RJ, is because if Pittsburgh wins Christmas against KC, then it's a 1-game lead, and Pittsburgh has the tiebreakers, so it's only a 3/4 game lead.
Except in that case –
And Buffalo has the tiebreaker as well.
But in that case, Pittsburgh is a 5-point dog this week or so. Yeah, I don't know. You're telling me –
Oh, Pittsburgh's going to lose multiple games probably. Yes.
Yeah. So what's the scenario? I mean, the Ravens can't do it. I mean, it's just the Bills. And the Bills – what's the Bills' schedule look like? Pull that up.
Well, they're a dog this week.
Yeah, so they play the Lions in Detroit this week, and then they are home against the Patriots, home against the Jets, and at the Patriots.
All right, so they got an easy finish.
Yeah.
I mean, though, the Pats are playing pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, in addition, we've got – listen, this game's been bet a little bit, the Browns. What was it, 5.5 to 4?
Yes. About 6, 5.5 when it opened in 4.
Yeah. We said it last week. I mean, it's almost getting – I've never seen a team be able to win the game and do it just at the – Bill Simmons always talks about the Milton Burrow. And apparently Milton used to have a gigantic, we'll say, private region. and there'd be like, hey, put it on the table, kind of thing. I don't know. And he would only the old joke was he would only pull out enough to win. Right? And it's almost that's what KC's doing, and I've never seen a team do this before. Like, it's impressive. Have you, Fez?
Never. And not only is it, obviously they're ultra clutch, but they've been ultra lucky. But you know what? When you get ultra lucky, you're like, yeah, we'll get it done. We find a way every single time. So there's no sense of urgency.
Yeah, it's I'm not a UFC expert, but there was the guy from Russia that didn't look. He had a little pot belly. Fedor maybe was his name. I can't.
Fedor Emelianenko, whatever, something like that.
Yeah. And I don't really watch UFC, but I watched one of his fights, and they made an interesting point. They said that it doesn't matter who you are, if you're against a world caliber fighter, and you could you could lose, you could limp the rest of your life, or you could, whatever, get your face shattered. It's like every second there's danger, right? Everyone's nervous. Doesn't matter who they are. Doesn't matter if they're favored, and that makes them tired. And they breathe heavier, they lunge. Again, obviously the best people fight not or try not to do that. But they said Fedor, if that's right, was calm. Like, his heart was like flat. And there was I saw him because he was in that one fight. I saw him and he was fighting someone that was like 6'7". He was like kind of like a gargantuan dude, and he had him in some kind of like reverse guillotine or whatever. And literally there was like 3.5 minutes in the round. And you could see that Fedor was just like doing what he needed to do, but he was super calm. He wasn't using a bunch of energy. It does feel like Kansas City has that ability to have the energy. They're not worried about, this play or that play. They made the field goal. Okay. And even if they lose, I don't think they really care. Meaning they want to win, but they know their goal is to win the Super Bowl. And if they can win these games because let's be candid, this is going to be the third straight. If they do it, it will be an all-time thing, like literally an all-time thing. And the thing that prevents teams from winning the third, I think, is the disease of me, but also the fatigue, where you have to play so deep into the season one year, then another year. I mean, Fez, we'd go to the Super Bowl with Fox, and it was like we got there on Tuesday, left on like, Friday night, and it was like exhausting, right? I mean, you go down, you have 2 weeks of a Super Bowl, 2 straight years. Now you do it so I think the Chiefs are pacing themselves, and thus it seems like a perfect spot to take a home underdog, not to mention the trend.